business page as well.
My business, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, hey everyone, Diana Renee here with Mary Roberts with Keller Williams Real Estate. We are here for our Lunch and Learn. Welcome, welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We have a very special guest today, Kristen Duncan. She is a sustainability manager with NEENA Paper. That is a large paper company located out of Atlanta, Georgia. And she is here to talk with us today about sustainability, the environment, and how we can all do better to help our environment. Welcome, Kristen.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I currently live in Tustin. I'm in the process of moving to Corona. I grew up in San Diego, got my bachelor's of science at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and then actually locally got my MBA from Cal State Fullerton a few years ago. So love Orange County, but excited to move out to Corona.
Yay. Kristen is also a client of ours, so we're extra super excited to have her here.
Yes.
So just a little bit, I have really bad allergies, and all the smoke and ash is really affecting my allergy. So if I'm sniffling, I'm sorry. So our planet needs a little bit of healing too. So Kristen is going to give us some tips on what we can do about it and how we can contribute. And before we get started, it is Lunch and Learn. So we're going to talk about the lunches that we have. So I just recently was diagnosed with celiac disease, which is like a really weird disease, and it's super hard to diagnose. But turns out that I have an intense allergy to gluten. And I just cannot even tell you like how many problems that caused me through my life. So I'm very excited to at least know, right? So now everything is gluten-free all day, all the time. So I made a gluten-free macaroni and cheese. The link for the recipe is below. So check it out. It was delicious, and it literally tasted exactly like regular macaroni and cheese. So
awesome.
How about you, Mary? What are you having for lunch today?
Well, I'm enjoying Luna Modern Mexican Kitchen here in Corona, and I always get the salmon. It's just always my favorite, and I don't indulge in gluten either. So it's a good place to eat. Salmon's always great.
Bucket salmon or the grilled salmon?
Oh, the grilled.
Okay. How about you, Kristen? What are you enjoying for lunch?
It's really funny that you both say that you're gluten-free, because I actually went gluten-free about 2 months ago. I had an issue with anxiety, and I wanted to see if that would help, and it has totally helped. So I have been gluten-free for a bit. And I am eating from a place called Board and Brew right here in Tustin. It actually originated in San Diego. And I remember years ago getting out of high school and going down and getting my great sandwich. And now here I am 20 years later, and I can go to Board and Brew. There's one that just opened in Tustin about 2 years ago. And they have wonderful salads. Unfortunately, I don't have the breads at the moment, but the salads. And then if you're ever in the mood, they've got a lot of great craft beers as well. So awesome. Board and Brew in Tustin.
It's crazy how much removing gluten from your diet, because same for me, like I was having anxiety too, and fatigue, and like all these weird symptoms. And as soon as the gluten was gone, it took a couple weeks. It's like such a huge game changer.
Yeah, I noticed a difference within 24 hours.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is important.
Yeah, we're all gluten-free. That's crazy. We should make a club. Okay, well, awesome. So we're going to jump right into it. First of all, I want to thank everyone again who's joining us today. Please like, better, love our page and follow us. We have Lunch and Learns once a month. Every month we have awesome guests, and we would love for you to join us every month. And if you have any questions, throughout the Lunch and Learn, please ask them. Kristen's here. She's happy to answer questions and would just love to engage with you guys. So let's get started. So Kristen, we talked a little bit before about why sourcing fiber is important and to make sure it's coming from a responsible source. Can you just kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. So you might not think that how paper is coming to the market really matters, but we all interact with paper on such a regular basis. And when I say paper, I'm using it loosely. It could be the carton that your Amazon package comes in, or honestly, the container that your almond milk is made out of. So the reason it's important when you're buying products to look for a certification that looks like this. This is FSC, F like Frank, S like Sam, C like Club. The reason it's important is that indicates that the paper used to make this package was sourced from a forest that was responsibly grown, and the trees were cut down responsibly to be made into paper. If you find products that don't have a logo like this, it potentially could come from a forest that is being clear cut, could be potentially endangering species and having a negative impact on the environment by, if you clear cut, it actually can increase the amount of carbon emissions that is off put into the environment. So it's always good that when you're sourcing something that's coming from a tree that's being cut down, you want to make sure the tree is being cut down and sourced in the most environmentally responsible way. So that's, again, why looking for a logo like this is important when you're buying products.
Wow, a small thing that makes a big difference.
Exactly.
Yeah, good to know that.
Yeah, I never even knew. I buy that almond milk, but just by chance, not because I was being responsible, right? So now I know to look specifically.
Once you know what the logo looks like, you'll start to recognize it and see it in a lot of different places. It's just a lot of folks don't know that it exists and to look for it. So
Right.
Hey, another thing was what is a circular economy and how does that affect us?
Sure. Circular economy is a really, really big thing in environmental and sustainability right now. So you think historically things were made, used, and thrown away. We never really knew what impact all the trash that we were putting into our trash cans, the impact it was having on the environment. So instead of making something, using it, and throwing it away, you can make it, you can use it, you can recycle it, and then it's remade, reused, recycled, made, reused. So it really is continuously using the same base product in a variety of different ways. And that's what is neat about paper in particular compared to most plastics is paper can be recycled, broken down, and reused an average of 5 to 7 times. And the neat thing is at the end of that 5 to 7, depending on a lot of different factors, nothing is ending up in the landfill. It is truly just the fibers of the paper kind of evolve or dissolve in the water and go away. There's not a negative impact on the environment. So it's really great and nothing ends up in a landfill.
That's question. Amazing.
You know those box waters?
Mm-hmm.
So is it better to use like a water that's in a box if you're buying water or plastic? Because if you are recycling the plastic, does that have the same effect as using the box water? Does that make sense?
So yes, it does. So it really comes down to knowing what you're looking for. There's a lot of aspects to plastic that you might not be aware of. For example, I have a couple of samples here. So this is a blueberry container, and it has at the back of it, you'll notice, hopefully you can see it. There's a little recycle logo that has a number on it. This one happens to be a 1. Some other plastic products like this one, you look everywhere. This is a salsa I got from Costco. You look everywhere. There's no recycle number located on it. So what that tells me is this can be put in the recycle bin. This has to be put in the trash. This is not able to be recycled. So if you're looking for water that comes in a plastic bottle versus a paper box, you want to make sure that A, the plastic that you're choosing is able to be recycled. And then B, you want to compare it to the paper box that doesn't have this responsible sourcing logo. So it's really just becoming educated as the consumer and seeing the pros and cons of each. Both can essentially be recycled, but when you're talking about different grades of plastic, you'll see a range of 1 to 7. So they all look the same. They all have the little recycle logo, but it has a number in the middle of it. When you put plastic into a recycle bin, the only plastics that are really being captured and truly recycled on any high rate is the number ones, the number twos, and sometimes the number fives. The number 5 plastic just requires the recycling center has to get enough of it to be able to recycle it. So if you're seeing a water bottle that has a 3 or a 4, it's better to go with the paper box that could then be recycled, because paper is, you don't really have to think much about it. Most papers are recyclable.
So what's the, you said it goes up to 7, right?
Yep.
So what are the other numbers for then?
So it's just different grades of plastic that are put into the manufacturing of the product. So you'll probably notice that plastic will change a lot over the next number of years. But as of right now, you want to make sure that when you are using plastic products, you know, perfect world, you don't use them, but plastic's a part of our lives. So if you are using a plastic, you just want to make sure you are using a plastic that has the highest recovery rate. And again, those are plastics that have the 1, 2, or 5 on the product.
Wow, that's interesting. So the other plastic, like the Costco one you got, that just goes in a landfill.
Yep.
It's there for 10,000 years or however long.
It never goes away. Forever it'll be there. So it's not even 10,000 years. It's literally the life of our planet.
Like the people 300 years from now are going to be seeing your plastic.
This exact same Costco container.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Well, you know what is even worse, like from an environmental aspect, is so many of us don't know the delineations between the different plastics. So the average consumer would probably put this right in the recycle bin.
Yep.
So what happens is this then travels from my house to the local municipal recycling center, and then they discard it because they know that it can't be broken down and recycled. So then it gets put on another truck from the recycling center and gets dumped right into the landfill. So if I would have just known as the consumer from the get-go that this needs to go in the trash instead of the recycling, I would be saving all the carbon emissions that the recycling truck getting from my house to their facility and the facility to the landfill. I would be saving the world that CO2 output.
Right, for
I
sure.
heard from, I don't even know where, that if you throw that container in with your regular recyclables that can be recycled, they'll throw the whole thing. Is that true? Into a landfill?
Well, it just depends on how it's getting to the recycling center. So here's another interesting fact. Many of us, and I did it for a long time, I just don't like having dirty trash cans. I don't like my trash cans to smell. So of course I put liner bags in them, both my trash can and my recycle bin. But if you put all of your different plastics, maybe I'm really, really good, and I put all of my plastics that I have verified are recyclable into the trash can that has the liner in it, and then if I just empty the trash by taking the bag out, nothing in that bag is getting recycled. Wow. By bagging your recyclables, you are eliminating the recyclability of them. Because the local municipalities, like you think of, especially in COVID, people don't want to have to be breaking open bags and touching everybody else's germy products and whatnot. So it's really like we need to do our best to ensure that product gets to the recycling center in open form.
Wow, that's really
Kristen too. What about those bags?
Those bags are not recyclable. Most bags, so you can think of the bags that you get from the grocery store, or even like maybe you use some tomatoes or some mushrooms and it comes covered in this poly plastic stamped saran wrap or whatnot. No, anything that's like a real thin plastic actually becomes a pretty huge contaminant in the recycling process. And let me explain the reason. So everything that we put into our trash cans gets put on a truck and then it goes to the recycling center. And the recycling center is a big conveyor belt. So you dump, and I'm just using a generality to explain it. So I know every city is a little bit different, but you put everything on a conveyor belt, and then anything that's plastic, so anything that's dimensional, will drop down through the conveyor belt. And anything that is two-dimensional, so you think any like plastics, or papers or whatnot that are two-dimensional, they flow right through. So you have to make sure that you don't put plastics, like thin plastics, into the recycle bin, because they end up flowing with paper and they become a contaminant. So it's really important that really thin single-use plastic gets put in the trash. because I know a lot of us like to, it's called, or one of the terms is hope cycle.
Yeah.
I hope that I'm going to get this to be recyclable, so I'm going to put it in my trash can. You don't want to do that because you can end up having a negative impact in actually ruining a lot of the other recyclables that are truly able to be broken down.
I have a question. So I am a big Amazon person. Like I love Amazon. I buy a lot of stuff from them. Although I am trying to go directly to the companies now just because I feel like they're taking over the world. But anyway, when they deliver my box, it has that bubble, those big bubble things in there. I throw the box with that bubbly stuff. Oh my God. I knew I
You're not supposed to. The bubble wrap is trash. And I'm assuming it's just like the big, like I'm sure there are biodegradable plastic bubbles, but I know what you're talking about. It's like the protective bubble. That should go in the trash and the box should go in the recycle bin.
Got it. I wasn't sure, and I was hope cycling on that one. So I'm glad you told me.
Nope, it's lots of people do it.
I'm sure. Another question is, so what about like your jars and stuff, like your, jars of spaghetti sauce or whatever? Do you wash those out?
It's smart to keep them clean, but you don't have to scrub them. You don't want to waste a bunch of water.
Right.
You don't want to leave. So say you buy a container of sour cream and you don't use it at all. You don't want to put the entire thing in the recycle bin with all the old sour cream in it. You want to clean out the sour cream, a quick wash, just make sure the majority of the residue is gone. Is pretty much all that you need to do. So don't be wasting your water and your soap and whatnot on glass bottles. Just make sure it's generally clean. And then also that helps you. The cleaner you put your make your recyclables, it eliminates the need to have the poly liner in your plastic bag. So I mentioned earlier, I hate having a dirty trash can. Well, as soon as I became more aware of how I can keep my recyclables clean, it eliminated that as a problem for me altogether.
That makes sense.
Right.
How about electronics? I know you don't want to throw, like nobody really throws out old iPhones. Maybe, I'm not sure, but I have these. Probably some of you younger people won't even know what this is, but it's like an old iPod. Remember these, you guys, from back in the day? I've been holding on to this sucker for years because I just don't really know what to do with it.
Every time I get a phone upgraded, I keep my prior phone in case the new phone, I lose it or something. So now I have back to like, my original BlackBerry, I've got a stack of them. So yeah, I'm with you. Like, what do you do with your electronics, especially when you're purging, like getting ready to move? Like, what do I do with them? The best thing to do with them, honestly, is, so let me take a step back. So I'm mentioning, like, you don't want to put this in the plastic or in the general recycling bin because it's not going to be captured. Same for if you were to throw all of your electronics into the recycle bin at your house. It's not going to be captured. The local municipality is not set up to deal with that type of equipment. So the best bet when you're trying to get rid of old electronics is don't put them in the trash can, which you might logically be thinking is what you should do. Take them into a Best Buy or a Fry's or an electronics store. Most of them have either just a bin where you can throw them in, or some of them are have some trade-in programs and whatnot. But generally, you want to make sure that you take them to a place that has a designated trash or a recycle bin for them. And the reason being is the Best Buys of the world, they have their own path for recycling those products. So they're aware, they're in the loop on it, and they've got their supply chain already set up. So that's the best thing to do with them.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
I have a little collection going here of Apple products primarily. Okay, awesome. Well, let me see. One other question. So did we talk about post-consumer waste?
No. Oh, so this is one thing that I think is kind of interesting that I learned pretty early on in my career as a sustainability manager is when you see something that has a recycle logo, like even this, this doesn't even necessarily mean that this product is recyclable. That's why the numbers are very confusing. It means that this product was made with a particular type of material. So if you were to see, I just happen to have sitting here a book with like little, like this logo, the recycling logo.
Yes.
If you were to see that, that does not mean the product is recyclable. That means the product was made with recycled content. So that circular economy I mentioned, where it's made, reused, or made, used, and then put into the recycle bin and then reused, it's the second time that that product, second or beyond time that that product has been used. You can put a product that has recycled content into something that's full of latex and plastics that can't break down, but you might still see that logo on it. So it's just, it's a delineation that's very confusing to a lot of customers and consumers. And it was to me as well. But if you see the chasing arrows on something, that doesn't necessarily mean it is recyclable. It means it was made with that type of material or recycled content.
So for that book in particular, how would I know as just like a regular person, if I'm done, I would never throw a book away. I love books, but if I were going to throw that book away, how do I know if throw it away? Like, how do I know if it's recyclable?
So you need to know, and there's not a standard that's out there that says this is recyclable. The logo says that it was made with content. So if you want to know what you can and can't recycle, it's really up to you as a consumer to know. There's not really a cheat sheet out there that says paper is recyclable, this type of plastic is not. It's really just understanding. So if you see that logo I'm curious if this almond milk, I didn't look for that before this. If you see a recycled logo on the almond, oh yeah, right here. If you see this on the almond milk, you know this box was made with recycled content, but that doesn't mean it's recyclable. So it's just really knowing like the substrate. So paper you can put in the recycle bin generally, and it actually, paper has a really high capture rate. Typically 68% of what is of the paper that's put in your recycle bin is captured and reused, versus plastics, because there's so many different numbers, 4% is captured on average.
Wow,
so kind of the takeaway is paper, feel confident, you can put it in the recycle bin. If it's got crazy coatings and whatnot, there's a lot of caveats to that, but in general, paper you can put in the recycle bin. Plastic, you need to look for the different type of grade or the numbers and then determine what can go in the recycle bin.
Right. So it's I mean, I think it's our responsibility as human beings on this planet to pay attention.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I've got little kids, so I want there to be an awesome environment for them to grow up into. And if we don't take control of our own destiny, it's not going to be there. And honestly, like, it's interesting because if you look at the different generations and if you look at who responds to what, is the younger generations that are really grasping this and like holding on to it. And I think it's awesome. They're taking ownership of what's going to be their environment. So, you know, as much as they might be the squeaky wheels and complaining about environmental attributes and whatnot, I'm glad, like, I'm happy to see that we've got that passion and that generation.
Yes.
First of all, I feel like we talked earlier about a global crisis that's much bigger than COVID could ever be. I mean, we could wipe out our race if we don't get some kind of control over what's going on with our environment and climate change. I mean, it's been 1,000 degrees here in Southern California. It finally cooled down, but I mean, when I was a kid 30 years ago, I guess 40 years ago now, darn it, but I don't remember there being this kind of heat.
Yeah. And it comes down to like, is there something happening big picture from a climate aspect? And I definitely believe there is. Climate change is real and we're seeing it. And pre-COVID, had we not made significant changes, we are going to see our environment heat up like 3 to 4 degrees every year, beginning within the next 6 years. So COVID kind of put everyone at a standstill and kept us home and kept our cars off the road and kept manufacturing from putting the emissions out. So it actually took us back a couple of years from an environmental standpoint. But I agree with you, Diana, like the pandemic, the COVID is definitely a pandemic, but we are dealing with multiple global crises or crises. And I agree. It's just, yeah, we can't, It's very important, has been very important. It's finally starting to get the visibility. And one thing that I think is really neat is you look globally, and a lot of countries really care about the environment, and they have government legislation that's really supporting what they're trying to do from an environmental standpoint and sustainability standpoint. We aren't quite there in the United States, but we're noticing a lot of our C-level companies or our large corporations are stepping up because they're recognizing that our consumers, our customers are caring about these things. So we need to implement various strategies versus waiting for it to be mandated. So we're really, as the United States, we're taking control of our own destiny. It'd be nice if legislation follows, which it very well likely will, but I just think it's kind of interesting what's happening.
Well, the fact that they have a position like sustainability manager shows a lot. I mean, I'm guessing that 40 years ago, that wasn't even a thing. Right?
No, and honestly, some companies 10 years ago, it wasn't a thing. And it's interesting because even when I started in my role, the level of engagement was here. And then just every year, almost every month, the engagement has picked up and picked up. And now every single day I get multiple inquiries about various environmental attributes. So it's definitely more a part of the conversation today than it used to be.
Encouraging for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I thought was really interesting with COVID is it was really only a few months that we were at a standstill, right? Where we couldn't drive. And like you said, I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, manufacturing had halted for the most part. And in those few months, we were able to make a huge difference, right? Like, what if we just did that all the time? What if we were all thinking all the time, like checking the plastic and thinking about where you're driving and buying electric cars and just contributing, like everybody just doing a little bit could just change the world.
Yes. We all need to do our part.
Yep. Yep, I agree.
And it's really, once you learn what to do, it's not that hard to do. It's just, and honestly, to most people's defense, it's not that they want to be bad recyclers. It's just, we don't know. We haven't really been provided the tools. So,
well, like you said, there's no code to go by. I mean, I was throwing the bubbles away. I had no idea,
Yeah.
I thought I was doing
landfill or recycling, like
recycle these. This is awesome. Yeah. So now I know I can separate.
Yes. So here we are learning right now.
Yes. Lunch and learn.
Yes.
Kristen, can you give us 3 tips that people can use to be more aware as consumers on sustainability practices?
That's a good one.
3 tips. You want to use products that are packaged in sustainably thoughtful ways. So again, that gets into the the responsible fiber sourcing and sourcing post-consumer content products. I would say definitely check your plastics. And if it's not a 1, 2, or 5, take it right to the trash. And then thirdly is pay it forward. Like, there's not going to be this big environmental push that now suddenly in 2 years everyone's going to know. But if we each do our part and educate our friends and our family about what you can put in and what you can't, that can go a long way. Just like real estate, a lot of it is relationships, and let's use our relationships to continue the education and teach everybody like how to be better stewards for the environment.
I love that.
And our children and grandchildren as well, be the example to them on how to do it.
And a lot of times, I think right now it's the reverse. The kids are the example for the parents.
So share this video, everybody, with all your friends and family.
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Again, please like our page. And if you have any questions after this about sustainability, just send them right over to me. I will get them to Kristen. I know she's on Facebook too. Not sure if you're super active or not. But yeah,
moderately active.
She is an amazing lady and she's happy to help. I just offered you up, Kristen. I hope that's
no problem. I am happy to help.
All right, guys. So join us next month, second Tuesday of every month. We do a lunch and learn, and we would love to have you. Have a great day, everybody.
All the red ribbons.
Thank you.